Here are my top 5 difficult cards that people are afraid of. So let's get started. Now, these are the ones that I think are the most difficult based on my own experience and those who I've done readings for. But first, there's no particular order. We have the Hanged Man. And to me, this card can sometimes be seen by people who are getting a reading and they take things literally, which, as you'll see, none of these cards are necessarily literal of what you see. But it's amazing how you pay attention to what you feel or what you notice in the picture itself initially. That's a hint to where you need to focus what's going on in your own life or whatever it has to do with the reading. So with this Hanged Man, it is somebody who maybe didn't volunteer to be put up there, but they're making the most of it. And it gives them time to think, to maybe come from a different perspective. What can you appreciate, especially if you're hanging from a tree and you can't go do something? You can appreciate some pretty basic things, right? So sometimes this Hanged Man, I know it's major arcana, which means that it has to do with major things in our life, but not always. Sometimes it's just something that you need to be more aware of. And this Hanged Man might just be telling you that it is what it is right now. And what can you make the most of? What can you feel grateful for that's so basic that when you get down from this tree, you're going to be really appreciative you have it again? All right, let's move to the next one. We have the Devil. So the Devil is probably the worst card people get, aside from one other one that begins with D, which is on this list. It's a hint. So with this guy, it instantly feels like it's evil. It's all of the worst things that we know from stories and legends and religions about this character. But from a tarot perspective, this just means that whatever is causing you to feel afraid or out of control or not having the control you want. See, people often focus on the two that are chained here, but what about this guy? He's not changed. He can willingly make people do what he wants. So what's that going to be like on your conscience? This definitely is something that is going to evoke some emotions. And of course, it depends what this card is surrounding or in what context. Each meaning of a card has a different context depending on where in the reading it shows up, right? So next, we have the Tower. And again, this is definitely one people do not want to see. However, this is a heads up. It's either a warning or it's something that it's reminding you of what happened. Now, if it's a warning, that's actually a good thing because you still have the choice. So between these two characters here, this person is falling out unwillingly. This person looks like they jumped more willingly and everything is aligned. Notice all these thingies are all in a line with him falling, so he is protected. He's going to get energy from this. Whereas there's more chaos. So it's that duality of the good parts, the bad parts, or vice versa. This is usually a really good card if you haven't experienced the Tower moment yet. It's just reminding you that rules are going to change. So be willing to choose how you want to deal with whatever is coming up. It doesn't always have to be super dramatic either. Notice this in any little part of your life. It could be something like, your warning light on your car came on and you've got to watch what you're doing and you got to make sure you take it in, but you can choose to, procrastinate and not do it. And that's the Tower moment when it finally conks out at the side of the road and you're like, right? Or ahead of time, that warning light comes on and you strategically say, we're going to deal with this before it gets any worse. And there you have it. The bill might be a bit high, but it would have been even higher if you didn't get it done and the catastrophe happened. All right, fourth, I have the big Death. Oh, gave you a hint of what's next. And you might not agree with that one, but anyhow, let's move on. So with Death, obviously, everybody wants to think that they're immortal and they're not going to die. But hey, let's be realistic. Death happens. There's so much symbolically going on in this card. You've got the skeleton, so this is somebody who, there's no coming back from this. It's down to bare bones of what's been going on. You have a king who's been laid up and decrowned, and it's just showing you that the way things were done are not going to work anymore. So it's time to say goodbye and let everything happen the way it's meant to. This child and this mother, she's looking away because she knows what the inevitable is, but the child's too innocent to realize, or to think, I should say, that there's anything wrong with this death rider coming through. And of course, we've got the Pope, or the religious figure. He looks like he's got tears of blood running down his face. This is about sacrifice. This is about placating what it perceives as evil, which death is inevitable. It's a different energy. Anyhow, we're not going to go down that road, but we'll go down this road. You remember these two towers are also in the moon card, but in the back of here, we have the sun coming up. So it's showing you that there is a new cycle on its way. There is more positivity that can happen from whatever went on. And of course, the big flag in the middle represents a white rose. So purity and divine energy. So when this comes up in a reading, obviously is talking about something that's totally changing. It's not going to seem like it was before. It might be a little tough to get through it if you think of grief, and not that we ever get through it, but it just changes perspective and energy after a while. So having this in depends on what other cards are in that reading. And it's usually just a sign that you have to accept the inevitable and just go from there. Very generalized meaning of that. Let's move on to the fifth one I have. And I chose Judgment. And often when I'm not trying to keep it PG, they are at their most vulnerable. They're often seen as in coffins, and they're ready to be taken up to the afterlife, where they will be judged. So some of them might be really glad they're going up. Some of them might be a little regretful be guilty of whatever in their life. And of course, you can take this at face value, but when this card comes up in a reading, it can often just mean looking at things from the perspective of weighing the pros and cons of something. That's one interpretation of it. And it's a reminder that you need to sometimes just surrender to the higher source and the higher power, the higher energy that's trying to come through. That's going to make the judgment process that much smoother. Just be willing to trust that this is the cycle of the way things go. So those are the 5 ones that feel like they're the scariest ones in the tarot. Do you agree? Do you have any other insight? I'd love to hear it. Pop it in the comments, and I hope you subscribe, because I'm going to go deeper into each one of these paired up with other cards to get a deeper sense of that. So stick around and subscribe, and we'll see you in another video. Peace.